drugs going?
I never knew. I don't know. I swear to God.
Swear to me!
Oh, don't you just love Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks? It may have taken them an extra year, but Cenk and the Young Turks, bless them, have finally come around and reported on the Uranium One deal. But they think this is a groundbreaking report and that Trump didn't know about it until The Hill reported on it.
Figure out what the hell he's talking about, but I did, and I hope you're prepared to be shocked. I think that he might be right about some of it. Whoa, okay, so let's explain. So here's his tweets. He says, uranium deal to Russia with Clinton help and Obama administration knowledge is the biggest story that fake media doesn't want to follow. He then says, quote, Russia sent millions to Clinton Foundation. And the third one is, workers of firm involved with the discredited and fake dossier take the fifth. Who paid for it? Russia, the FBI, or Dems, or all? So this is as usual sent at 4 in the morning. Does the guy ever sleep? I don't know, man. I'm worried about this guy. Of course, I'm worried about him in 1,000 different ways. Anyway, so people have no idea what he's, uranium, Russia, the FBI and the Democrats and the Russians working together in a collusion? What in the world are you talking about? So the reality is The Hill actually had an excellent report, and at least the first 2 tweets of his are actually fairly accurate. So let me break it down for you. They explain in The Hill, before the Obama administration approved a controversial deal in 2010, giving Moscow control of a large swath of American uranium, the FBI had gathered substantial evidence that Russian nuclear industry officials were engaged in bribery, kickbacks, extortion, and money laundering designed to grow Vladimir Putin's atomic energy business inside the United States, according to government documents and interviews. Now, before I give you more of this, I want to run one more video for you of Trump.
And that Russia has 20% of our uranium for whatever reason, and a lot of people understand what those reasons may be. I think that's your Russia story. That's your real Russia story, not a story where they talk about collusion, and there was none. It was a hoax. Your real Russia story is uranium and how they got all of that uranium, a vast percentage of what we have. That is, to me, one of the big stories of the decade, not just now, of the decade. The problem is that the mainstream media does not want to cover that story because that affects people that they protect. So they don't like covering that story. But the big story is uranium and how Russia got 20% of our uranium. And frankly, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And it's a disgrace that the fake news won't cover it. It's so sad.
Okay, so it is true about the 20%, as I'm going to show you from the story in The Hill. Oh, right. It's a story in The Hill, which is a mainstream news publication. So they did cover it. In fact, they're the ones who exposed it. And the New York Times had talked about it during the campaign. So what do you mean they don't cover it? The only reason you know about it is because they just covered it. So let me explain what that is, and I'll cover it for you.
Cenk is so far up his ass that he thinks that this is the first time we are hearing about it from The Hill, and it's like he actually thinks the President of the United States doesn't know about these things before the news corporations do. Why are they telling us this now? Because the Democrats are no longer in office, and again, you're the only one learning about this for the first time. The rest of us are kind of ahead of you on this one. If you're not familiar with Cenk, check out his debates with Dinesh D'Souza and Ben Shapiro in the description. I highly recommend them so you can get to know Cenk's viewpoints and how he operates. So my point is something that I try to keep hammering home to people, and it's pretty obvious given the fact that it took them this long to report it, that they don't really look into things for themselves. You gotta read, you gotta look at the other side, what the enemy's doing. And Cenk here, he mocks Trump, saying he only knew about this because of the Hill article. Otherwise, Trump, too stupid to realize it. So either this story was out for a long time, which it was, and you just didn't believe it, Cenk, or you yourself didn't know about it until the Hill reported it, because Trump did and we did. And how is it that myself and so many other people have known about it for a long time, and Cenk with his hundreds of millions of dollars, and they do have bounties of money behind them at the Young Turks, how is he unable to figure this out? I don't necessarily like Cenk's style. I mean, he could be a very good guy to get along with when you're not talking politics. Maybe he loves sports, which I do. Maybe he plays video games. I don't know. Maybe I could get along with him. So I'm going to applaud him for reporting this to his big audience, because this is obviously not supportive of the Clintons and the DNC, which the Young Turks generally are. So slow clap. The dossier, as Cenk puts it, so you might be saying, it's bullshit! Nobody knew about this, he's doing a good job, it's bullshit!
Okay, alright, I understand, because that's bullshit! Get the f*** off the phone!
But remember, Cenk says the only reason that Trump knows about this is because the Hill reported on it. This was in the end of October, this video that they posted. So, here's Hannity and Trump mentioning this Uranium One deal in March.
All right, so last night, President Trump, he took to Twitter and he wrote, quote, "Why isn't the House Intelligence Committee looking into the Bill and Hillary deal that allowed big uranium to go to Russia, Russian speech money to Bill, the Hillary Russian reset, praise of Russia by Hillary, or Podesta, Russian and company? Trump-Russia story is a hoax. Make America great again."
So that's March to October, where we have April, May, June, July, August, and now it's 7 months before Cenk reported this, and it was on Hannity, and everybody knew about it at least 7 months. So again, Cenk, I'm not a fan, and I applaud you for reporting it, but it's kind of sad you need the Hill to tell you about this, and then went and claimed that it was other people who didn't know about it just because you weren't aware of it. It's bullshit!
There is no opposition! There is no opposition! Not just the cable guys, the Democrats. Will you fight? Will you get out there and say, this is goddamn outrageous?
You are a terrible newspaper. You know what he did in that press conference yesterday and how we covered it? He lied over and over about how this is a war between Al-Qaeda and Iraq. It's not a war between Al-Qaeda and Iraq. It's a war between Shiites and Sunnis. Civil war that we're stuck in. And what does the USA Today incompetent losers say? USA safer, Bush says. That is a lie. They've done a terrible job. Every one of these editors in every major newspaper, in every major magazine, in every major television news organization should be fired today. 43% of Americans believe that Saddam Hussein was personally involved with 9/11. That is the worst failure of the mainstream press I have ever seen. Ever seen. And why do you think now 58% of Americans are opposed to the Iraq War? Do you know what that number would be if 43% of them didn't think Saddam Hussein did 9/11? That number would be like 3%. But if you come to me, my sky god, I think 2,000 years ago, told a fucking Bush, and he talked to fucking Moses, and then he said, well, there is a seed in your body, and then some dumbass Pope interpreted that 1,500 years ago as saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this or that, and hence, I'm gonna let your wife die. Fuck you. God, that makes me angry. God damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're goddamn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.